Okay, guys, now that we learned what prisms and cylinders are, we're going to look at deriving the formula for the surface area of a prism. Now, your formula is down here. SA stands for surface area. B stands for the area of the base. And so you have two bases, so 2B. P stands for perimeter of the base, and H stands for height. This is a formula you're going to have to remember, but hopefully by me showing you where this formula comes from, that will help you to remember the formula later. Okay, so let's take a look at that right triangular prism we were looking at in the last video. To find the surface area, we need to find the area of all of the surfaces and add them together. Do we remember how many surfaces or faces this prism has? So there are 5, actually. There are the 2 bases. Remember, the back right triangle is a base. The front right triangle is a base. And then there's 3 rectangles. One on this side, one on the bottom, and then the one rectangle that runs up the side. So there are 5 surfaces. So what we need to do is find the area of each of those 5 surfaces and add them together. Now, do we know how to find the area of a triangle? Yes. Do we know how to find the area of a rectangle? We sure do. So let's take a look at this net. Here it is opened up in a net. Remember, this is your base and this is your base. So we're going to first look at the area of these 2 bases. I kind of took this triangle and pulled it out over here. This is simply a right triangle. So since it's a triangle, we use the formula area equals 1/2 base times height. Now this is a different b. This little b stands for the base of the triangle, and this lowercase h stands for the height of the triangle. So we have 1/2, the base is 12, the height is 9, because remember in a right triangle, your legs are your base and your height. So we have 1/2 times 12 times 9, that's 54 square inches. But remember, there are 2 bases. So we have to multiply that 54 by 2 to get 108 square inches. So the area of these 2 bases together is 108 square inches. So we're going to let B be the area of one base. So capital B in that formula that I showed you at the beginning is the area of one base. And we have to double that because we have 2 bases. So 2B is 108 inches. So that's what's called the area of the base. Now we're going to look at the rectangles. So we have 3 rectangles. These are our lateral faces. So if we, let's label these rectangle 1, rectangle 2, and rectangle 3. Now we're going to look at the area of each one of those rectangles. What we call the lateral area is the sum of the areas of these rectangles. The sum of the lateral faces, the area of the lateral faces is called the lateral area. The base area is the area of bases. So if I look at rectangle 1 is a 9 by 10 centimeter rectangle. So its area is 9 times 10. Rectangle 2 is a 12 centimeter by 10 centimeter rectangle. So its area is 12 times 10. And rectangle 3 is a rectangle that's 15 centimeters by 10 centimeters. So its area is 15 by 10. Now I'm going to kind of review a little bit of algebra with you here. If we do a little bit of factoring, if you remember GCF, which is greatest common factor, this has a factor of 10, this has a factor of 10, and this has a factor of 10. So I can factor out that GCF of 10, leaving me with 9 plus 12 plus 15, which is 360 square inches. Now, why did I factor out that 10? Let me explore that a little further. So let's take the lateral area and look at it in a little bit more depth. If we take this statement that I made, we had, where we factored out the 10, we had 10 times 9 plus 12 plus 15. Now, 10 is the height of the prism. Remember, this prism is not sitting on its base. Okay, so this, if you sat it on its base, if you turned the prism and sat it on this right triangle, this would be the height. Another way you can think about the height is the distance between the two bases. So here's the base, the back base, the front base, and the distance between those two bases is 10. So we're going to let capital H stand for the height of the prism. In this case, capital H is 10. So this 10 right here is capital H. Now, here's an interesting thing to think about. What does 9 plus 12 plus 15 represent in this prism over here? Okay, hopefully you realize by now that it's the perimeter of the base. 9 by 12 by 15. 9, 12, and 15. And this base would be the same, 9, 12, and 15. The 9 plus 12 plus 15 we're going to call capital P to stand for the perimeter of the base. So here's our final formula. This lateral area that we talked about, this 10 is H, the height of the prism, and this 9 plus 12 plus 15 is P, the perimeter of the base. Now remember, we said that 2B was 2 times the area of one base. So this PH represents the lateral area, the area of those three rectangles. This 2B represents the area of the base times 2 because there's two bases. So we let SA be surface area. Remember, surface area is the sum of all of the areas of the surface. That includes the base area of 2B and the lateral area of PH. So that's how we came up with our formula for surface area. Surface area, SA, equals twice the area of one base plus the perimeter of the base times the height. This represents the lateral area. This represents the area of the bases. So this formula is something you're going to want to memorize. Okay, that's the derivation of the formula. In the next video, we'll look at how to apply the formula.